Dr. Kenneth, Dr. Chiang, and fellow mates. I'm Li Hong, would like to present to you my research proposal, the consumer's attitudes towards intention of buying in-game virtual goods. Esport is one of the fastest growing industry in the world. The esport industry has been tremendous growth over the years, both in terms of viewership and revenue. The increasing viewership is what mainly contributed to the revenue growth, and it's not just because those viewers are generating revenue. Seeing the potential of reaching a large and engaged audience, brands are investing in esport marketing both directly and indirectly. For example, Louis Vuitton is collaborating with video game developer Riot Games, an American company that launched League of Legends in 2009, to design virtual items in League of Legends, such as the prestige skin that players can buy using real money. Online games increasingly sell virtual goods for real money. This has contributed to rapid revenue growth in the industry. Esports were rising Esports were rising meteorically before the global lockdown occurred. With lockdown around the world, the industry is expected to finally consolidate its position in the pop culture prospect. This most played right now is Dota 2, a multiplayer battle arena video game developed and published by the Valve. The major tournaments such as the International, the prize money is up to 9 figures, attracting thousands of participants and related tournaments. Valve put in the first $1.6 million, which is a no small amount of money for a major esports tournament. Everything past the $1.6 million starting sum is crowdfunded by the fans via sales of an in-game battle pass, a digital compendium that Valve released about 3 months prior to the International. The first iteration cost $9.99, and 25% of the profit from Battle Pass went towards that year's international prize pool, generating millions of dollars of additional rewards for pro team while amplifying the stakes for both players and viewers alike. It offered a few goodies like a new career, heads-up display, and cosmetic skin for a hero to wear in-game. The idea of spending real money on products that don't technically exist can be a bit difficult to understand, but it makes sense in the world today. My research problem statement will be: it's a fact that esports industry has seen tremendous growth over the years, although most of the game revenue comes from selling the game, but online games are increasingly sold virtual goods for real money. What is the consumer's attitude towards the intention of buying in-games virtual goods? The research objective is to investigate the consumer's attitude towards the in-game virtual goods purchase intention, to determine whether functional values influence in-game virtual goods purchase intention, to examine the emotional values affecting the intention of buying in-game virtual goods, to identify the social value impact purchase intention of in-game virtual goods. While the research question is, what is the consumer attitude towards in-game virtual goods purchase intention? How is the functional value influence in-game virtual goods purchase intention? How is the emotional values affecting the intention of buying in-game virtual goods? And how is the social value impact purchase intention of in-game virtual goods? This is the research model. The model was used to show the consumer's attitude and the functional, emotional, social theory affect the intention to purchase in-game virtual goods. There are actually 5 theories of consumption value, which is functional value, emotional value, social value, epistemic value, and conditional value. Among the theory of consumption value, functional value, emotional value, and social value would affect the intention of purchase in-game virtual goods. The customer satisfaction with the game affects intent to purchase virtual goods in online games. Customers that identify with character and develop a sense of loyalty. Character competency, price utility, and functional quality are functional theory of consumption value for virtual goods in online games. Character competency is related to the increase in character competency received for game user, while the price utilities are related to how reasonable the price of virtual goods are to game user. Functional quality is related to the functional and quality of virtual goods. Playfulness and aesthetic are the emotional theory of consumption value for virtual goods in online games. Playfulness is related to the increase in fun, attention, and imagination received for purchased virtual goods. Aesthetic are related to the increase in visual appeal receiving in purchased virtual goods. Social self-image expression and social relationship support are social theory of consumption value for virtual goods. Social self-image expression and social relationship support increase social image and strengthen the social relationship. There are two approaches that can be applied in the business research, namely deductive and inductive approach. These are two approaches differ in the relationship between theory and data. Deductive research refers to the research when a hypothesis is testing in the existing theory by analyzing the data. Since the purposes of this research was to test the possible factors that influence consumer attitude towards virtual goods and the relationship between purchase intention and attitude, deductive approach was supported and fulfilled the requirement. Business research is classified into quantitative and qualitative approach. Quantitative research is an approach that aims at generalizing the findings to the population. It allows the researcher to collect numerical data from large sample size, then to be measured in a statistical manner. Quantitative research was chosen as an approach due to the fact of quantification in the collection and analyzing the data and the purposes to make the generalization of the data. In quantitative research, the basic goal with a descriptive research design is to investigate relationship between different variables. Descriptive research design was to investigate the relationship between the consumer attitude and purchase intention within the in-game virtual goods. The primary research source will be the survey. Survey is a quantitative method in which a questionnaire is designed with the purpose of collecting standardized data by accessing to a representative sample of certain populations for further generalization. Surveys are at a cost-effective method sampling for a large group of people. They involve a series of easy-to-answer questions which are generally multiple choice. This allows quantitative data to be collected and analyzed by the researcher. The secondary research source is literature review and review articles. A literature review survey books, scholarly articles, and any other source relevant to a particular issue, area of research or theory. By doing so, provide a description, summary, and critical evaluation of this work in relationship to the research problem being investigated. That's all from me. Thanks.
Thanks, Li Hong. Dr. Andrew, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
Yes. Can I ask you two questions, Li Hong?
Yes.
Why you need to do this study? May I know why you need to do this research?
Pardon? Sorry.
May I know why you need to do this research?
To investigate the spending that actually the gamers willing to invest in the virtual goods.
Only this? How about others? Why? Why you need to do this research?
Due to there's a very clear statistical graph or anything that you can get online that actually the online virtual good spending is actually increasing, especially in this pandemic. Even in the pandemic, every economic, every part of the world is getting economic lockdown or something, but the spending on virtual goods is actually still increasing. And as you can see from the Dota 2 price pool, the contributor price pool is actually increasing. For the 2020, the international 2020 was cancelled, but the international 2021 were held in October, and the prize pool is actually already, the total prize pool is already achieved 40 million as I checked yesterday. So the price pool is only 25% of the purchase from Battle Pass. So this is showing the increasing trend in the gamers to spend on the virtual goods.
What is the contribution of your research? Why you need to do this, and what is the contribution to whom?
To get a better, clearer picture of consumer spending behavior.
I know, to whom? Contribution to whom? Why I ask? Because I can't see this thing in your presentation just now. And then your research objective, your research question, as well as your form statement is not clear at all. We see from your topic itself, what the topic, and then regarding your research framework, is there any moderator or mediator?
Sorry, Li Hong, were you able to hear the question? Because I'm also having trouble with my speaker. I'm not sure if it was.
I can
Can you
listen
hear
clearly.
me?
Actually, sorry.
It's not very clear actually.
Sorry.
There seems to be
Okay.
yeah, it's very muffled.
Hello, can you hear me, Dr. Tanner? Can you hear me?
Now it's better.
Yes.
Hello. Me, I ask. I repeat my question regarding your research framework. Is there any mediator or moderator? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. For this framework, I think I didn't include the mediator or moderator, but if it's included, it should be the consumer attitudes.
Then what is your consumer attitude? Is it you are just focusing on direct relationship? Is there any moderator or mediator?
There should be a mediator involving actually.
So the point is not clear. So my question is, you after this presentation, you really need to see that is there any moderator or mediator between your ID and the GD? Clear now. And then the way of drawing also incorrect. Could you please discuss with your supervisor? So that's all my question, Dr. Kenneth, and also Lee Hong.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Andrew. Okay, Li Hong, thank you for your presentation. I do share some of the, the first thing is that, you need to consider your theory of consumption values, look into more recent literature, and perhaps see if there's any new moderating variables that have been picked up by the literature in recent years lah. Okay. Sometimes the issue is that because we think
Sorry, sir, I can't hear you.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Dr. Kenneth.
No,
we
because
can't hear you, Dr. Kenneth.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sarah's mic
yes.
it was quite loud. So because when we look into adapting theories, which normally at MBA level, we are happy that you would just adapt a theory for use in a current situation or a current issue related to industry. Okay, so you need to just look into the more recent literature to see if there's any updates to the framework. All right. And when you argue for the significance of your research, okay, you need to make it very clear how does it really affect the population or sample that you're actually talking about, and whether or not there's any real contribution. Now, contribution can be theoretical, it can be in terms of usefulness. So my main question is that who are you sampling, or who is your target population for this particular project? Can you repeat that?
The target population is actually public because we'd like to get the public intention of their willingness to spend and what's the attitudes from their spending in virtual goods.
Okay. So the issue with targeting the public, right, with something as niche as esports, right, is that not everybody may have access to esports, or not everybody may know about esports. So then it becomes a question of, are you really targeting the right people? Or, are you going, where should you really go, So that's my main question. If you're targeting, let's say, if you're talking to gamers specifically, people who do play, then it will probably be closer to your target market. Okay. But then again, you are doing an MBA. So my question would be, you really need to highlight what is the contribution of this, like what Dr. Andrew said, what's the contribution of this to the way we do business, or the way we actually approach this kind of business studies. Okay. So that's something that you need to work out together with your supervisor, because the one thing you really need to sell, right, in your project is that this is actually something which is interesting, something which is worthwhile doing, that will actually contribute something interesting for us to understand more about the sector or the industry at large. Okay. Can you scroll down to your methodology section a little bit? Okay. So we only really do require if you're planning to do a survey, that would be sufficient, I think, for your project already. You don't need to literature review, right? It's not considered part of your methodology. Literature review is a basic thing that you need to do. Okay, so you should not actually include it in this slide, lah. All right. So don't worry about that. And then after that, the design side, right? You need to think. The question that we would have is like, how many people you would target for your survey. Where are you going to get your questions from? You can cite papers that are related to theory of consumption values and things like that. Okay, in order to clarify how are you going to execute this survey? What is your target number? And things like that, so that like you have a very clear plan of what you're going to do once you start your project. Okay. Another thing that's missing here is your analysis method. All right. Yeah. So those are the few things that we would like to see in order to make this entire proposal much better. Okay, Li Hong?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Li Hong. Thank you, Dr. Andrew, for your comments. We will move on to the second presentation just in time. Yep. All right. The second presenter today will be, just quickly have a quick look. Yeah. Madan, are you around?
Yes, Dr. Ganat. Yes.
Okay. Can you perhaps share your screen and turn on your camera if possible? I'm staring at your backdrop. Are you using a second screen?
Yep.
Yeah, you might need to. Yeah. Now I can see it.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Are you ready? Can you try turning on your camera?
Yes. Great.
Okay. Yeah. Ready to go?
Give me a moment. Okay, sure.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Right.
Sorry, Madan. Your slides are gone. I can only see your camera. I think you need to screen share again.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you see now?
Yes, yes, now it's good.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So good evening, dear lecturers and fellow classmates. So I'm Madan Raj, and my research proposal title will be Generation Z Expectation on Workplace Leadership in Malaysia. Okay, so as a background of the research, Malaysia's GDP is expected to exceed RM 3.9 trillion by the year of 2030. And this statement can be supported through the last year investment into Malaysia through FDI and also DDI. As you can see, let me use the. Okay, so as you can see, even though during the pandemic where the whole world is affected, Malaysia is still able to attract investors to Malaysia during this period of time. And as you can see on the previous FDI trend, you can see that it shows a really positive growth and also consistent FDI incoming to Malaysia. So why it's important for the DDI and FDI for Malaysia? So it's can sustain it's good for the long-term economic sustainability, and also it's to make Malaysia to be a high-income country, and also it's able to generate more job opportunity for the people, and to retain the this effort to accommodate this growth of incoming investors. So government need to continuously produce high capability workforce, and organization also must have excellent employment management, and to retain talents, which is one of the challenges that faced by current organization in Malaysia. And to add on is below table is a survey has been conducted by Randstad in 2017, where it shows the reason of employee leaving an organization. So even though it's the top of the list is on the salary and benefit, but if you can see on the other part of the list, it's showing a lack of leadership elements involved that influence in their leaving the company as well. So this create a doubt that the current organization are ready to accept the generation Z as a workforce. So the problem statement for my research will be that recent research showing that inadequate and poor staffing integration procedures for the millennials, which is Gen Y, have resulted in yearly turnover costs up to 30 USD billion in US economy. And a survey conducted by Randstad in 2017 shows that the leadership do have influence in the employees turnover in Malaysia. So that which impact the losing talents can give a major impact to the organization's growth, which can lead to business impact and also dissatisfied investors. Okay, the research question will be, to what extent the leadership style play an importance at a workplace for Generation Z in Malaysia? And secondly is which leadership style can retain Malaysia's Generation Z employment in an organization? My research objective will be to provide an overview on how organization can practice required leadership skills to lead the Generation Z employees, and to identify if different leadership style can help organization to retain the employment of Generation Z as well. The significance of this research is it will provide organization will have the right exposure in handling Generation Z, and also it helps organization to retain Generation Z talents. It will create a better working environment for all generation, where it integrate between all the generation at the same workplace. And also the organization able to get the best out of Gen Z for the company's growth. So for the literature review, I'll be focused on two main points, which is on the Generation Z characteristic and also modern leadership styles. As for the Generation Z characteristic, they are known for their hyper tech savvy, and they also prefer transparency. They are also action oriented, and they also prefer work-life balance. They are goal-oriented and prefer professional development in their career. Okay, so they also prefer freedom, even though in workplace, and they also positive about the future. They also prefer face-to-face communication with their managers or supervisors, and they're very outspoken, and they prefer to work for a larger company. And comparing to other previous generation, they work harder, and for them, the job satisfaction is more important than the salary, and they are more entrepreneurial. On the modern leadership style, okay, even though there's a lot of leadership theories available, whereby on the traditional part and also on the modern leadership theories, I have chosen these three leadership styles as for my research, where this leadership style is more relevant to the Generation Z characters. Okay, so to start with, I choose transformational leadership, where these leaders are required for the followers to involve in engagement in connected activities, and the leader will boost their motivation and morale of the followers to fulfill the organization and also individuals' goals and objective. Their ability to lead change and to focus on the belief, attitude, and also values. Okay, they are visionary, inventive, and creative, and risk takers. They respect, trust, and are devoted to companies. And they strengthen the followers' personal values in order to support the organization, vision, and objective. Okay. Secondly, on the transactional leadership, they are known as management leadership, focus on organization performance and oversight. They're able to bestow both incentive and also penalties, and they pay close attention to the work of their followers, and they frequently aim to maintain and restore the current situation. They are very directive and also action-oriented personalities. They prefer interaction, enable leaders to achieve their performance objective. And the last one will be on the servant leadership. Okay, so this leadership style concern about assisting followers, emphasizing the importance of communication, and they hold something in trust and serving the needs of others. This leadership style foreseeing outcome of situation and work with intuition. They prefer nurturing others' personal, professional, and also spiritual growth. And they also they have a thinking beyond the present day need and projecting into the future as well. Okay, this will be my theoretical framework, where the independent will be the type of leadership style that I mentioned before, which is on the transformational leadership, transactional leadership, and also servant leadership. And the dependent variable will be the preferred leadership style for the Generation Z at workplace. As for the methodology, it will be a quantitative research where questionnaires will be shared to the Z generation via online survey through Google Form on their leadership preference at workplace. The questionnaires will be based on transformational, transaction, and servant leadership styles. The population and sample, so the location will be Malaysia, and the respondent age will be within 18 to 24 years old. So this age will be the Generation Z, who are currently either they are working or they are at the high level studies. And the gender will be on male and female, and the race will be a mixed ethnic. So I'll be using a random sampling technique as a sampling technique for this research. And the targeted sampling size will be about 150 to 200. Okay, so that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Madanraj. Sarah, just wondering, your background is actually quite noisy. I don't know whether you can.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me or not?
Yeah, your voice is clear. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Then perhaps you can. Maybe you want to start with any questions or comments from your end.
Madan, can you go for the first slide?
Sure. Sorry.
Okay, Madan, actually your presentation is quite well organized, but I just want to pinpoint some of the some of what you call minor thing that you need a correction lah. Okay.
Sure,
This one,
sure.
okay. Actually, you mentioned the background of the research. Okay. Do you have any reason why you want to take a generation Z, not taking a generation X or Y? Why you actually want to focus? Because you, what I believe lah, okay, in a company, okay, there are there are plan or packages for the to retain the generation X as well as Y. And now normally in the industry they not even bother about a generation Z. Okay, even it's a low paid, okay. So why actually you are considering generation Z, not X and Y for this research?
Okay, so there's so many other research have been done on generation X and also generation Y, and there's a very less research have been done on generation Z as a new workforce, which is already started to come into our workforce, generally globally in also in Malaysia. So my background is that to show us that what is happening already with the generation X and generation Y in Malaysia's economic, and what are the problem faces, what I showed in the table, because the incoming growth of investment into Malaysia as a potential hub, as a for future growth of economic, and we are at the level that we are still not yet ready. Are we to show this research to show that with all this problem that we face with the generation X and Y, are we ready or not for generation Z?
Okay, good. Go back to the slide number 1. The title.
Oh, title, sorry.
So your title here, Generation Z Expectation.
Yeah.
So on workplace leadership in Malaysia, you mentioned about expectation in. Yeah. So how you want to make it? This is your IV?
This is actually
because your title must have IV and DV. If you are saying, workplace leadership is a DV, workplace leadership is a DV, and then what is your IV? The IV is here is expectation.
Yep.
So now you go back to your theoretical framework.
Yep.
So again, so you want to look at the expectation, how you want to include this, because this you mentioned just now is a leadership style, right? Your title leadership style, correct?
Yes.
So I feel that something whether you have to revise, okay, the theoretical framework lah, or you revise your title lah. Either one. Okay? Either you revise the title or your theoretical framework. Okay? Because yours is actually cause and effect research. You're based on what do you call it, the quantitative analysis. So there's a causal effect. So there must be this, what we call the dependent variable actually is a depending on something. Dependent variable is actually depending on something. So you are saying expectation, the variable will be different. How to measure expectations? So are they looking into the remuneration? Are they looking into the good environment? Are they looking into the perks or what? Okay, annual leave or good environment, what?
Okay.
So that will actually you can actually answer this, prefer what. So you must just modify whether title or your theoretical framework. Okay, let's go back to the problem statement. So you mentioned losing a talent can give major impact on organization growth. Okay, this is a statement. Statement. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Research, a problem statement must show some negative things. Lack of what? Inadequate and poor staff integration procedure resulted in a early turnover. You mentioned generation Y here.
Yep.
So where is my generation Z? So you never mentioned the problem faced by the generation Z here. You mentioned in your presentation, and just now you actually in the background of studies, you very clearly mentioned. It's very good, What you have to do now is you have to take from the background of studies, put that into your problem statement.
Okay.
Because you mentioned in the background of studies, So remember, background of studies, we are just something like you're giving a background, introducing, okay? And the problem statement, you must actually split that from the background of studies. So put it here. So always use like insufficient lah, okay, why? Okay, let's say insufficient of package lah, the current situation lah, pandemic lah, now the staff are given a contract lah, it's not all attracted them. So what, okay, if we can support by, some data. Now, especially when you're talking about this, okay, we have quite a lot of fact data, so you can use to support that. Okay, let us go back to your research objective and research question. Okay, what extent the leadership style play an important at workplace? So what is for me is like something like very qualitatively sounding. So what extent? So here you already have identified few variables. Okay, let's say you're talking about 3 variables lah. Okay, does the working environment, okay, influence what are that? Okay, the workplace, generation Z. Okay, generation Z retention. I don't know. Huh?
Okay.
Okay, which leadership style can retain? So again, you need to reformulate your research questions. So make sure that all the variables that you identify, okay, is there.
Okay.
Clear? Okay. Independent variable. There must be a very consistent independent variable and end with a what do you call it? A dependent variable, even in your research objective. Okay. Now go back to your research objective. Okay. To provide an overview. Okay. When you're talking about overview again, okay, it's very qualitatively sound. You know. Objectives are measurable because you are using quantitative analysis.
Yep.
So measurable, how you want to measure that? So you want to measure the influence of A on a B. And then only you can do a regressional analysis, because all the relationship can be measured through regressional analysis.
Okay.
Let's say in the case, let's say you want to measure the difference between age. Okay, let's say how you want to classify junior, senior, something like that. So you can use, since there's a group, you can use a t-test to measure. So from your objective, actually, you can determine what kind of test we can do.
Okay.
Correct, Amadan? So that's why when you are talking about quantitative, because I'm very much focusing on a quantitative, very much focusing on a quantitative. I also mentioned to my student Chi Li Hong and another one, Chi, another one. So it must be quantitatively sound. So second one, to identify if there is a different style of leadership. So again, wait. So how you want to change this, okay? To determine, okay, or to identify the relationship between A and B. To identify the good, the word identify, fine. Okay, it's not overview. Huh? To identify the relationship between work environment and generation Z retention. Maybe that will be a good. So
Okay.
if you, for your level, okay, for what we call it, for MBA level, we are not so specific to say we need a 5 variable or 6 variable, no such thing one. Even within 2 good variables, okay, based on the literature that never tried before, you want to try in your organization. Very nice, very interesting. But remember, this is social science. Before we do research, there are millions of people done research. So it's very hard for me to say, to claim that ours one is the first attempt in the world. No such thing one. If you do experiment, science experiment, yes. So definitely, okay, someone done a research. So please take that and quote that. Okay, limited research has been done this area, and quote someone a citation. That's fine,
Sarah?
Yes.
Perhaps we can move the discussion to the chat room because
okay.
we've already run out of time.
Okay.
Thanks, Maharaj. Maybe we can just continue the chat in the chat room so that it's he can continue hearing from you.
Okay. Thanks.
No worries. Thanks. Yeah. Chi-Ying, are you there?
How to go to chat room?
Just open the chat box. It's
chat box. Okay.
Yeah, the chat box. Just continue.
Okay. There. Anyway, Madan. Okay. I think.
Chi-Ying, are you there? Hello, Ching. Ching, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Dr. Kenneth, can you hear me?
Yes, can. Can you try sharing your screen?
Doctor, yeah, I'm sharing now.
Okay. Can you begin?
Yeah, sure. I will begin now. So, good evening, sir, and my classmate here. So, I'm Ching, and currently doing my master study in business administration, and I'm going to present on my research proposal now. So, the duration of this research will be around 3 months, and the research will be under the guidance of Mr. Sarah from School of Business. So, the title of my proposed research is that factors that are affecting the growth of career service industry and their relative importance. So next, I will be discussing on the background of my research. So the courier and delivery sector has seen some impressive growth over year 2020 and this year as well. So, and this trajectory looks set to continue. And the industry is making dynamic changes to incorporate tech and protect the environment. So a courier service can be defined as a service that allows someone to send parcel or consignment from a location to another location or from one person to another person. So sender have the option to have their parcel collected by a courier or drop their parcel off at somewhere nearby or to be picked up later by the courier service provider. So as compared with the national mailing service, courier service are known for the speedy delivery and the tracking capabilities. So courier service has seen a significant increase in deliveries as a result of people switching to online shopping because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the lockdown and the subsequent closure of shops mean that people who may have never turned to online shopping before were doing so for the first time. So we noticed that the branches of courier service are getting more and easily accessed within the living neighborhood. And there are even some shop or cafe joined the courier service field of business by serving as a drop point for courier service companies. This rise in demand has a significant impact on the industry, not to mention the change to the process that were brought to cope with the virus, such as contactless delivery, the removal of signature requirements to limit the contact between customers and drivers. While there has been an increase in demand for residential deliveries with the increase of home working and travel restrictions, so there has been a decrease in commercial deliveries because of the schools and the workplace are closed. Yet it's still one of the few industry which is experiencing growth during this pandemic time. So according to the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC,
Descriptive and requires yes,
there were 119 courier license issued. So the rapid growth of e-commerce activities in Malaysia has boosted the local courier service industry, resulting in the industry become over competitive with more than 100 courier licenses granted over the past 5 years. So besides, there is a 2-year moratorium was imposed by the Minister Communications and Multimedia Malaysia, effective from 14 September 2020 until next year, which is 15 September of 2022. So the moratorium was implemented to provide an opportunity for the government together with the postal and courier licenses to formulate new plans for the sector, which faces various challenges from technological changes and market trends. During this period, the MCMC will not accept any new license applications for courier service and from the 14 September 2020 onwards. So according to the industry performance report of year 2020 by MCMC, so we're referring to the figure as shown. As at end of 2020, courier service providers has handled a massive amount of 462 million courier items, while in 2019, there are 247 million courier items only. So they're showing a 87% increase from 2019 to 2020. So such a big difference in the traffic indicates the huge demand from the e-commerce consumers due to the stay-at-home new norm, which is aimed to curb the spread of COVID-19. However, we can also notice that the overall courier service traffic over the past 5 years is exhibiting continuous increments in couriers item handled. So we can see from 2016, there's only 100 over million. Until 2020, there's 400 over million. So the question here is, what is the factors lead to the growth in courier service industry over the past 5 years? So is rapid growth of e-commerce the only reason that affect the courier service industry? So if yes, how strong is the impact and how long is the impact? If not, then what are the other reason or factors that are affecting the courier service industry? The aim of this research is to find out what are the factors involved. So next, I'll move on to my research objective. First of all, to identify the factors that affect the growth of courier service industry. Second, to examine the importance levels of these factors to the growth of courier service industry. And third, to determine how these factors will impact on the growth of courier service industry in the long run. Fourth, to identify the challenge faced by courier service providers. Five, to draw recommendations on what action should be taken by courier service providers for continuity of growth. Then my research questions will be, first, what are the factors affecting the growth of courier service industry? How these factors are affecting the growth of courier service industry and its level of importance? How these factors will impact on courier service industry in the long run? Next, what are the difficulties encountered by the courier service providers currently? Last, what should courier service provider do for continuous growth in the long run? Then I will be discussing on my research method and methodologies. So first of all, my research design will be a descriptive research, which is based on case study. My proposed primary research method will be case study and explanatory studies by analyzing few courier service company in Malaysia. So next, the proposed secondary research source will be journal and related academic articles, publications of professional bodies, and then followed by my method of analysis will be qualitative method. Then I'll move on to the ethical considerations. As case studies are involved in this research, contents that are quoted or rephrased in the research must contain acknowledgement to the owner or author. And the limitation of this research would be that this research might not be able to represent all other courier service company, as it only involved the study of some of certain companies of choice. And the expected outcome will be a summary on factors that are affecting the growth of courier service industry and their relative importance. So that's all for my presentation. Any questions?
Thanks, Ching. Dr. Andrew, do you have anything to add?
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Andrew, your audio is not coming out.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
Can you please go back to your title? Your title.
Sorry, Dr. Andrew.
Your title. Your title.
Oh, title. Okay.
Title slide.
Okay. So you see from your title here, do you know where is your IV and where is your DV?
My IV will be the factors that are affecting in the growth of courier service industry. I mean, what are the factors?
So your DV?
My DV will be the growth of courier service industry.
Very good. So I will suggest that why not you just focus on the factors other than the relative importance. And some more, your service in courier service industry, is it whole Malaysia or any specific states in Malaysia? Because you need to think when you want to collect your data, how are you going to collect? So what is your, who is your unit analyst? So that, who is your unit analyst? Who is the respondent? Is it easy?
Yeah, Dr. Andrew.
Yeah. Who is your respondent? Are you able to get the collect the data from a respondent? So that's why your research title, your service industry, you should narrow down your career service industry. Is it whole Malaysia or is it specific state? So you need to think this, okay, before you start any research or what, your unit analysis is very important. Okay.
Okay,
so
understand, Dr. Andrew.
And some more, next one, your research background. Your research background is very detailed about your industry of a courier service company. But my suggestion is, could you please also include the research gap? The research gap, you can put it in the background. Okay, when you read all the literature, okay, read all the articles, journals, articles, you will find what are the gaps, research gap that people's not yet do. So you can put it there in your research background. And then next one,
okay, understand.
is your problem statement. Your problem statement not clear. So remember, your problem statement must have a negative things, must have a problem. When there's a problem, then only you can do your research. So what are the problem of your this one, career service industry? Since you said that during this pandemic, I think most of the career service will be grows like a mushroom nowadays. So what are the problems? So that's why you need to find out. And remember, why I said that your problem statement is not clear, you need to have some specific of the data. The best is you show some figures. For example, sales drop, customer complaint. Okay, so these are the things that I need to means the examiner will going to see at your problem statement. And your research question and your research objective are how to say that are too much. Okay, maybe you can choose few enough. And then regarding your chapter 3, your research methodology, I think you need to state down your population and then your sample size, and your unit analysis is very important. Because if you do everything ready, when you come to chapter 4, you can't get the data from the respondent, then it will be a big issue already. So
okay, understand.
So that's why my suggestion is you need to discuss with your supervisor again and go and think the points that I pointed out just now. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Andrew.
Just a couple of things to add. Can you explain why you think a qualitative method is a good method to take care of this project?
Because basically the factors that I would like to explore is more on the external factors on the overall business environment instead of comparing to the quantitative method. Sorry, so you are asking the analysis method, right?
No, you're planning to collect qualitative data, right?
Yeah. I'm planning to collect qualitative data because of comparing to the quantitative data, because my target will be the company instead of the individual respondent. So this would be more suitable that we do qualitative as the population size will be smaller.
Okay. So my suggestion to you is that because normally when you're doing qualitative method, right, you're looking to explore certain themes. You're not really measuring the impact of factors, measuring how these factors actually affect, So there has to be if you really want to measure how factors affect, right, then I would suggest quantitative. If you want to measure like how did these certain companies in the courier service industry handled the COVID pandemic, then you can consider doing qualitative. But if you want to do qualitative, then the question is, who do you talk to? Because if you're only going to talk to the people who work in administration or operations, right, they may not necessarily have all the answers. Then you need to qualify your interviewee with maybe a decision maker, a CEO level, or you know what I mean? So that can be a bit of a challenge to actually get. Okay, so normally the reason why we don't normally recommend qualitative study for MBA is mainly because for you to get a qualified interviewee, right, it's always touch and go. You may not necessarily get access to them during the time that's given to you. Yeah, so that's the challenge. Okay. I mean, you can still make a decision. I mean, like you can still make changes to your proposal. Okay, based on what you are currently presenting, right? I would probably recommend that you do a survey instead. You've already kind of did the hard work to map out a survey. It's just that maybe the method does not really fit with what you're planning to actually to get. Okay, so if you're talking about what are the factors that affect growth, if you just go and survey people working in these companies, you can actually narrow down your population size. Okay, if you want to focus just on career services that are active in Penang, okay, that is also possible. That will also narrow down your population size again. Then your sample maybe not going to be so big lah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, so
Okay,
those are the few
understand.
things that you can. There's a few ways that you can actually narrow it down. Then you can have same number from J&T, same number from DHL, from UPS, from GDEX. Then you are able to sort of have different groups that you can compare how they feel are the factors that actually affect the growth. All right.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kenneth.
Okay. Thanks, Jing. Well, thank you for all those participating in the 7 p.m. session. Appreciate all of your attention and your presentations. I will upload the recording to YouTube later on. Only for all servers who have the link. Okay, not completely to the public. Okay, so that you guys can review what has been discussed. We are now moving into our 8 p.m. session. So the first person to present would be Ron. Ron, are you here?
Yeah, doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah, you want to try sharing your screen and turning on your camera.
Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Andrew. I believe that we really appreciate your input. You may stay if you would like, but we are. It's okay actually. You are actually you don't have to remain if you don't want to.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay. Ron, are you able to turn on your camera?
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Can
Great.
you see my screen and my face?
Yes, can.
Both
Would you like to
can.
get started?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, go for it.
So basically my topic will be the measure of the motive underlying the usage of disposable glove among Penang citizens. My supervisor will be Dr. Ng, and yeah, that's my research topic. Basically in the background of research, I'll put it like explain about the global disposable glove demand. Say for example, in 2019, actually have a 291 billion of pieces consumed for this disposable glove, and they actually have a survey saying they're expecting there will be a 423 billions in 2022. And in my background, I basically explain about this, and then explain about USA actually contribute like 150 pieces per capita, which means per user every day, whereas Germany and China and Indonesia. And moving forward will be slightly explain about the APEC overview, Asian Pacific, saying probably the APEC have a more growth opportunities for manufacturers to target. And after the background, I will go for problem statement. We'll be saying that APEC disposable glove consumption rate is actually in a growing stage. And how about Malaysia? How about Malaysia? Because we do not have any data show what's the Malaysia glove consumption rate. So I'd like to do this research and check it out whether Malaysia have how many users using, and also this COVID-19 actually increasing civilians' hygiene concerns, and how about Malaysians? And then actually it's also an opportunity for retail business and a manufacturer to expand in this area, which is Malaysia. So I give you a data showing APEC of an examination glove usage is actually have a CAGR of 15.8%, which means yearly is increasing 15%. So also briefly explain about Malaysia overview. I'll use APEC for example, because we do not have any actual data or any journal article showing a Malaysia detail. So using APEC to explain slightly, and then I'll talk about Malaysia is actually a medical tourism destination. So by right, Malaysia should have more consumption rate in a disposable glove. And also Malaysia is one of the largest supplier for the medical glove. So that will be my problem statement. And then for my methodology part, my research questions will be whether the price will affect Penang citizens' motive to use disposable glove, and does the Penang citizens find convenience while using disposable glove, or like Penang citizens have awareness on self-hygiene, or probably what's the reason Penang citizens choose to use disposable glove, or whether will Penang citizens find waste when using a disposable glove. That will be my questions, and my research objective will be to examine the relationship between a price and disposable glove usage, convenience and disposable glove usage, comfort, safety, health concern of the disposable glove usage. That will be my research objective, and then I'll conduct a hypothesis in my research paper. Will be test about whether price or convenience, comfort, and safety health concern, whether they have any positive influence on this disposable glove usage. Yeah, that will be a hypothesis. And then the significance of the study will be using a theoretical study about the price, the convenience, the safety, and then comfort and health concern, and study the demand contribution disposable glove usage in Penang. And research design will be using quantitative survey. Due to the time constraint, we cannot do the interview, and quantitative will be my primary data, whereby experience and case study or the journal article will be other strategy. And this research will be sending through social media, Instagram, Facebook, to all the Penang citizens only. And the populations will be target only in Penang, 1.7 million people, and based on the hills and actually I'm targeting to do 100 respondent in this survey. So based on the Hugh, according to Hugh, they actually, if we can conduct more than 30 or below 500, that's considered accurate data. And for the questionnaire, I'll put it in 2 components. Demographics, probably is like age, income level, and education level, and all the dependent and independent variable. Then we'll use SPSS to analyze my data. And for the ethical, will be no living subject involved. And definitely when we do a survey, they'll get we will inform the respondent the everything what we'll do in this survey. And then the limitation will be we couldn't survey all the Penang citizens. There's too big amount, and another limit will be we not really can help a manufacturer to expand to overseas market, but only understand what's the Penang's market. That's the limitation. And my conclusion, what I expected to have is Penang citizen usage of glove, and whether Penang is a potential market for those retailer to open up a store. Because now where we can get the disposable glove is only pharmacies or probably DIY only. Yeah, that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Dr. Tan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. Would you like to provide your review, questions, and comments?
Okay, Ron, can you just turn to your first page?
Yes.
Okay, by looking at the title here, just like just now, Andrew asked the same thing. Can you just identify from here what's the IV and DV?
My IV will be the motive, the comfort, the health concern, or the price.
Your IV?
Yeah.
DV ni?
The DV will be usage of disposable glove.
This one only one IV. But just now I look at your research question, you have few IV lines.
Ron, you mentioned 3, right? The price, what was the other 2?
This price, safety, and health concern. Yeah. Price, convenience, comfort, safety, and health concern.
Okay.
I mentioned 5.
But why this study only in Penang?
Because I have to narrow down my research. Otherwise, if I plan to do Malaysia but it seems like if I doing Malaysia, but I only take 100 respondents, will be not that accurate.
But to me, I personally view I think for MBA level, I think for degree level, I think should be okay But I'm talking about for MBA level, I think it should be broader. Maybe take about few state rather than just Penang alone Personally, I view that Okay. Then can you go to the background? Okay, here you mentioned about contribute 29 billion, 291 billion.
Yeah, billion.
This one, I think, from where you get this particular source?
From a report, the Arizona report. Actually, they need to buy one. The Arizona report.
I think when later when you write down, I think you need to cite this one because you cannot just simply put the figure like that without citing. I think you have to cite the figure, the year we need to get Then what is this APAC? Sorry, I'm not very clear about what is
Asian Pacific.
Contribute?
Asian Pacific, APEC.
How many countries are there?
Well, if you refer, I actually using a North America, Europe, and then APEC, Asian Pacific, and then Latin America and Middle East. Whereas for the photos above, I'm using the top glove one. It's actually showing how many, like United States, they actually have 150 pieces per user every day.
But the one I see, do you see the APEC country below? I think the next slide you mentioned there are a few countries, right? Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Just to the next slide.
China, Australia, Indonesia, Japan, Korea.
The earlier slide, can we go back to the earlier slide? This one you mentioned about what American That means you are going to something like focus on this APEC country.
No, basically in my background, right, I'll make a brief, I'll make a introduce about the global demand. So I talk about North America, I talk about European, I talk about United States actually have a consumption rate of 150 pieces per capita. So I'll talk about all this, and then I'm moving forward to focus, narrow down to APEC.
No, I think it's good to hear you just, I think on the background side, it's good you have something like you talk about the global side. I think it's good to you to add in the Malaysia, something, a section of Malaysia about the consumption. I think it's better, you know. Because now you're studying Malaysia, so I think you just go and find some figure or statistic to support this particular under this background rather than just talk about the overall itself.
But doctor, there's problem because there's no data at all for Malaysia market.
I think you try to get some time to find it out. I think definitely they are. I think you have Malaysia. There are some what they call consumption figure. I think there must be there. Rather than just talk about some of the global side. I think one part you need to talk about the Malaysia side. Okay.
Okay.
Can you go to your research question? That's why here I'm something I wonder why you want to study only on Penang side But to me, I feel it should be broader a bit Maybe cover few state rather than just Penang side.
Okay.
I think basically these are few questions that I want to ask Dr. Kenna, you have any question? You want to add on?
I'd like to jump in a little bit. I really like that you have global data. But then we need to, like Dr. Tan said, we need to narrow it down. Perhaps what you can do is you can look into the glove manufacturers' annual reports and see if you can get some data from there, particularly with regards to production on our side and also with see if they have any data on their markets. You know, they might mention I don't know whether they have. You work for one glove manufacturer, right? So maybe that's one you can start. And then after that, you can go and look at. I believe that those that are public listed, they will definitely have their published annual reports in their investor relations side of their website. So you can have a look at that. That might be one place. Rubber Research Institute might be another that might have. Or you can look into Department of Statistics. But normally they will look at rubber products as a whole. They probably may not actually look into disposable gloves specifically Okay. So Dr. Tan, you all for degree level, right, over here, right, normally we allow students to do just the student population, and then for MBA normally we go up to more industry focused. That's normally how we separate So generally, if you want to focus on Penang, you discuss with your supervisor whether that's a suitable population for your study. Okay, different lecturers will have their own expectations Okay, so you need to discuss with your supervisor what is acceptable. It could be northern region, like perhaps what Dr. Tan is referring to. Okay, specifically because disposable gloves normally you're discussing in terms of healthcare workers. I know that nowadays everybody, I mean, maybe not disposable gloves necessarily, but most people are using face masks. Some people use disposable gloves. But if you're talking about the healthcare sector, right, it will be good for you to expand to other parts of the northern region. So perhaps, Perak, Kedah, Perlis as well. Okay. Then you might have a bit more catchment for your survey as well. If you scroll down, so yeah, you had a slide for a framework, did you? Or
no?
Okay, so it would be good for you to represent your variables in a theoretical framework, and I need you to cite where did these factors come from. Okay. If let's say you self-develop the factors, right, I need a justification why these factors are used. Okay. And if let's say you pick these factors out of another paper, I also need to know which paper did it come from.
Okay.
Okay, these are the few things that we need Okay. So the other thing is that your population, your sample size, right? I'm not sure about this Hill's idea of rule of thumb, yeah. Because normally there's another paper that says that there is the G test that you can do, and right, in order to show like what is the correct sample size for a population. Normally, it's about more than 300. It's about slightly less than 400. That's what you would typically want for your survey size. Okay, so I need you to read up a little bit more on that. Because I think that 100 respondents, that will not be sufficient to cover your population that you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Quantitative survey is fine. Okay. The next challenge would be developing the questionnaire. All right. You mentioned here your questionnaire got 2 sections. Yeah. Sorry, if you go back down the previous slide that you showed. 2 sections, demographic, and then dependent, independent variables. Okay, that's okay. You need to actually it would be best if you can pull your questionnaire out of different papers that have talked about these variables before. Then you would have already established the validity of your questionnaires, as well as I mean, not the reliability, but more the validity of the questionnaires that it actually does represent these variables. Yeah. Aside from that, you know, you can be more specific about what kind of data analysis tools you want, or data analysis things you want to run. That will be even better. But these are the few things that I can see that are points for improvement lah, for your proposal. Sounds good.
Because you say we need to provide maybe from others people paper for the questionnaire lah, you mean, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What if it's in different industry? Is that okay to use?
It's possible. It's possible. You need to actually argue why it fits. Okay. So let's say, for example, your framework, you know, the few variables that you mentioned, right? It was actually in a study that studied the adoption of maybe not rubber gloves, maybe something else. Okay. But the theory focuses on that. So you can actually adapt. You just need to change the key terms to fit rubber gloves instead. Okay, so there is an adaptation process that you can actually do. It's possible, but you need to justify. You need to be able to explain it, lah. That you're still utilizing the same variables. It's just that it's a different case.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So a bit of writing for you to do, lah, coming up.
Okay, sure. Talk with my
Other than
supervisor.
you're okay. You have anything else to add, or?
I think no, that's all. I think basically that's all. That's all.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person that we have will be Alinus. Alinus, are you here?
Okay, Doctor. Yes.
Yeah. Could you share your camera and also your screen? Are you ready to go?
Okay, can I start, Doctor?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can begin.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, for this presentation, we based on the research title, the attitude and perception towards digitalization among SMEs, and my supervisor is Dr. Tan. Okay, the intent of the presentation will have 3 components, which is number 1, to propose a framework for a focused research proposal. Number 2, to define the key research design concept, and also to define the key research analysis concept. First, I will present a brief of the research proposal, which is based on the title as mentioned previously. However, focus on the customer acceptance towards e-commerce adoption. And also the proposed research background will focus on to present the frameworks that describe the definition, the characteristic of e-commerce implementation, such as what kind of e-commerce available in Malaysia, such as the online purchasing, such as the online service providers, such as, for example, MYEG, that can be part of the Malaysian SME, and also to provide an overview and also the literature review regarding the e-commerce satisfaction and how the e-commerce can fostering the growth for the SME, especially during the post-pandemic situation. In terms of the objective identified, number one is in terms of how the research can provide the working definition, the background, and also the review of e-commerce among SME, theoretically and also the practically. Number two, to systematically analyze the e-commerce adoption within SME based on the customer acceptance and also satisfaction. And finally, in terms of the how the success factor of SMEs in e-commerce implementation can be determined by the customer acceptance and satisfaction. In terms of the hypothesis for this research is in terms of how e-commerce has emerged as a potential success factor for SME based on customer acceptance and satisfaction. I will explain on how to determine the customer acceptance and satisfaction based on the proposed research model as for next slide. On top of that, on the research methodology, it will be based on quantitative data that obtained to measure the survey data throughout the feedback from the customers, and also to identify case study as part of descriptive analysis and qualitative research in obtaining e-commerce value creation from SMEs. From this data, the analysis will be conducted to support the hypothesis. For example, in terms of identification of the IB, the identification of DB, and how the variable transformation will be conducted in order to perform the statistical analysis in order to confirm the hypothesis, and how the output will be used as part of the research outcome to obtain the impact of e-commerce implementation among SME, and also to obtain the customer acceptance and satisfaction towards e-commerce adoption within the SME. This is the concept for the research design. For this research proposal, technology acceptance model is proposed due to the perceived usefulness and also the perceived ease of use can be used as the variables, as how e-commerce can enhance the customer purchasing experience and how e-commerce can ease the customer's purchasing effort. The technology acceptance model typically been used to gauge the acceptance level of the technology in the perspective of the company or organization. However, various research had been done that confirmed that technology acceptance model can also be used in analyzing the customer acceptance for various applications, such as recent research been done in terms of the to assess the use of online system, the adoption of e-commerce, the use of e-portfolio system, and also the use of mobile payment. From this technology acceptance model, several variables also been proposed to be added in terms of expectation and also the pandemic safety that can enhance for the variable data analysis to obtain the customer satisfaction and also acceptance of the e-commerce application. Several questionnaire had been proposed in terms of the perceived usefulness and also the perceived ease of use. And this questionnaire will be analyzed using the Likert scale measurement in order to proceed with the data analysis. From the population of 21 million of Malaysian adult population, 40 to 50% from the Malaysian adult population will be used as the population size, due to the based on a study conducted that around 40% of global population currently using the online and also e-commerce system. From that, the sample size identified is about 300 to 400 sample based on 95% of confidence interval. From the quantitative data just now, we also obtain the customer segmentation survey data, such as the demographic, the psychographic, geographic, and also behavior that can be used as part of the variable identification and variable analysis as part of the research analysis framework, which is started from the quantitative data, and then in terms of the analyzing the scale measurement, either the interval and also the ratio scale measurement that can be used to further identify the variables and performing the variable transformation, which, for example, in terms of the IV being found as such as the perceived usefulness and also the perceived ease of use, and also the DV being identified such as the number of usage of the online services or e-commerce services in terms of the volume and also the percentage. And then the data will be further analyzed using the statistical analysis in order to perform the hypothesis testing to confirm the hypothesis as mentioned earlier. And to further provide the outputs, for example, in the form of tabulation and also chart as part of the research outcome letter. As a conclusion, the proposed research can provide an overview on the e-commerce significance in retaining the customers and fostering growth for the SME, with the objective to analyze the e-commerce adoption within the SME based on the customer acceptance and satisfaction. And then the technology acceptance model is proposed as the variables are able to be used in analyzing the customer acceptance for the e-commerce adoption. And also the research will be based on the quantitative analysis in supporting the hypothesis. And lastly, on the research can be used to provide the outcome in obtaining the impact of e-commerce implementation among the SME and to obtain the customer acceptance and satisfaction towards e-commerce adoption within the SME. I think that's all my presentation, Doctor.
Thank you, Alanus. I appreciate the presentation.
Okay.
Viewer, for your presentation is Dr. Ng.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Can you go back to your first two slides?
This one, Doctor?
Yeah, this slide.
Okay.
If I look at your objective,
yes.
Working definition, background, review, among, I think this one, you just do it as part of your literature review. Right? To provide working definition, you just have to look at the existing literature, you can find the definition.
Yes, exactly.
This one it should not be your objective. Number two, to systematically analyze e-commerce adaptation within SME based on customer acceptance and satisfaction. I think this one
Yes.
can be a thing. I think the third one is the success factor. Because for your analysis, you are interested to know the factor analysis. What factor contribute to the customer acceptance and satisfaction? Is it correct?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Then you should focus on these two. You
Okay.
go to the next page, your model. Then you just based on this, you talk about your customer acceptance and satisfaction. So whether when you use e-commerce application, whether they can adopt this sort of method to do the transaction or not. Then you focus on this, your variable.
Okay.
Because you are doing your quantitative research, right?
Yes.
Quantitative research normally measure on factors. So you should focus on your factors. Then you talk about expectation, perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, pandemic safety. Okay? Then the intention to use and usage behavior, actually there are two processes now. If you want to measure intention to use, means that I intend to use but I have not used it. So maybe you think about it, how to simplify it. Maybe straight away go to usage acceptance, usage behavior.
Behavior. Okay.
Otherwise, when you talk about I intend to buy a TV, I'm using the TV. So there are two processes which you cannot measure at the same time.
Okay.
So there's then what's your this is will be your underpinning theory, right? So just now you mentioned here, well, what will be your critical model as your factor? Only these four factors, right? One, two, three.
This four factor. Yes.
You focus on the arrow and then you find the literature. Make
Okay.
it
Yes.
simple. Otherwise, you cannot finish.
Yes. Like for example, in terms of the questionnaire, like I specified here in terms of like for the product can be easily found and purchased at their e-commerce. Actually, I found it based on the literature that have quite related to this research proposal.
You just have to adopt their questionnaire, a standard questionnaire. There are plenty available because this TIM model is a very established model. So there are many versions. You just choose a version that suit your application. Because for e-commerce, relatively new. For the past 10 years only we have this industry. Start with Amazon, right? So maybe you can look into this area in details.
Okay.
You no need to venture into other area. For example, online purchasing is another field. Because just now you mentioned customer acceptance and satisfaction. There's another field. I don't know which one you intend to do. Customer acceptance or satisfaction, or just now you mentioned online purchasing.
In terms of the e-commerce platform, such as the online, for example, online shopping.
So that means you're talking about using the apps,
the platform. Yes.
Apps to accept.
Yes.
Okay. Then you mentioned inside about case study. Why you want to do case study again?
Because for this, I also at this stage I still plan if can get one or a company that currently using the e-commerce that can provide some sort of qualitative data from that.
I don't think they'll share with you.
Yeah.
Okay, just for sharing.
Yes.
What is the company that doing e-commerce in Penang?
E-commerce in Penang.
There's one company offering e-commerce, like selling all the online sales.
Yeah.
Like this Lazada.
Yes.
You know the name of the company?
Not Yes.
we are able to provide you some information. Do you know the company?
Not really sure, but I'm thinking a few company in Klang Valley lah.
No.
Yeah.
Penang got one called
Okay.
Penang Mall. Penang Mall.
Oh, Penang Mall.
Or the short form sometimes they call PG Mall.
Okay.
Then you can get some information.
Yes.
I think for you, you have to narrow down your scope. Just focus on these few factors is sufficient.
Okay.
No need to venture into other area because you want to gadget. You have to narrow down. So easier for you to defend your finding. But you go to venture into case study, that will be too big to handle. Whatever you study on is part of your research. Like just now you say you want to do the definition is part of your research. So it should not be your objective. Your objective is supposed to study factor relationship. Then which factor are important, therefore practitioner have to focus more on the factor to ensure they have a high degree of acceptance and satisfaction. That would be, in my opinion, that would be your scope. Okay, then you go to the next slide. Go next slide. This one is a lot of things inside.
Yeah.
You have to narrow down because you talk about psychographic. I think it's another field of study. Right? Then you talk about
yes.
value, reaction to market usage.
Yes.
I think you don't have only two. One is demographic information, another one is your DV and IV only.
DV, IV, yes.
Then this number 2, number 3, number 4, you take your other time to do not now Otherwise you cannot.
Okay.
Because if you put it in, I ask you a question, do you measure or not? You might not able to answer me. Then why you want to put it?
Actually, like for example, on the location, I plan to include because.
No, location. Okay, I didn't question.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I just question number 2 and 4. 2 and 4, where is another field of study already? When they ask they ask you, can you explain more about the lifestyle and hobby? How do you measure it? The questionnaire do not have. So I suggest you narrow down. Very easy for you to. So that when you narrow down, then you based on the theoretical framework. From there, you work out your hypothesis. Hypothesis testing. Inside, based on the line you have, a lot of hypotheses inside.
Yes.
If I based on the line, a lot. Okay, I think that's about it for me. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Ng.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
I would like to echo some of the things he said, just in the short time that we have. Your objectives, right? Just follow back your framework. So basically, how does perceived ease of use affect, intention to use? For example, okay. So just equal the arrows only. How does the first affect the second? That's objectives. Okay. So no need to complicate things. Some of the things that you mentioned in your objectives, are not actually what you're studying. Is what you're actually doing in your literature review. So, but I think that it is a good project so far. It is straightforward. Case study probably save it for another time. You don't have a lot of time to finish a project. If you just do the survey, do the statistical analysis, you should be good to go for this to graduate your MBA lah. Okay, if you want to do a case study of a bunch of companies doing e-commerce, right? You can come back to us and do a PhD. All right. Okay. Thank you, learners.
Thank you
for your time. The last person for this particular session, I believe, is Joe. Joe, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Can you try sharing your screen?
Sure.
Always interesting to me to see people in the office with good haircuts because we can't do that over here in KL.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's good. All right.
Okay, so I'll start my presentation.
Sure, go for it.
So, yeah, all right. So good evening, everyone. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Joe, and today I would like to present on my research proposal on assessment of service quality on the adoption of oncology information system. So here is my content of my presentation. So I will start with the background of the research. So radiation oncology has been very successful in saving life and one of the major cancer treatment throughout the years. So in recent years, rapid development and advancement in computer technology and informatics awareness have actually brought cancer care into next level with the use of oncology information system, focusing into a paperless digitalization and workflow management, modernized and revolutionize patient care. So a successful implementation and adoption of OIS is essential in ensuring optimum clinical operation in the department. So there are three main aspects of a success information system, which are the information quality, service system quality, and service quality. So in this study, I'm looking from a service perspective, and we'll focus on service quality with the use of TAM model in assessing the OIS acceptance. So the theoretical significance of the proposed technology acceptance model is that it enables us to identify how service quality affecting OIS acceptance. So the model incorporates external variables influencing OIS acceptance, and that can help administrator or vendors to understand and find solutions to enhance OIS implementation in the department. So since there is a lack of related studies specifically to radiation oncology information system, so this study proposes a technology acceptance model that will help to understand the acceptance and adoption of OIS across the region of Southeast Asia. So moreover, the research findings have a significant practical implication for department trying to incorporate OIS in their department. So on the problem statement, despite on the benefit in or information system, the use and adoption in healthcare is relatively low compared to other industry. So given the great cost invested in designing and implementation of OIS, so it is really important for us to identify factors affecting OIS acceptance among healthcare professionals. So on the literature review, I divided into two sections, the TAM model and the SERVCO model. So TM was developed to understand the user acceptance of information technology. So technology acceptance model enable us to forecast and adoption and identify factors in implementation of new technology. So based on various literature, TAM is very frequently used to study technology acceptance, like what Linus presented earlier. He also adopted the same model. So in the healthcare industry, TAM has been used to study technology acceptance among healthcare workers. So example here are Pai and Huang conducted a study in 2011 adopting an updated technology acceptance model. The study shows that perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use from TAM influencing user attitude towards using a new technology. And another study from Hadayani et al. In 2017 conducted their study with TAM focusing on human, technological, and organizational characteristic for HIS system. So the study shows that non-technology factors are also an important element in better implementation of the HIS. So next, on the SERVCO model. So the SERVCO model measures the service quality as the gap between the customer expectation of service and customer perception of service delivered. So the studies have demonstrated that SERVCO can be an effective and appropriate tool for measuring the quality of information system services. So assessment of healthcare information system services quality can be a requirement to meet the needs of user and a strategy to expand the interaction between information system users and the developer. So the objective of the research is to analyze the correlation among the TM models, perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and service quality factors, which are influencing the acceptance of OIS in radiation oncology department across Southeast Asia. On my conception framework, the technology acceptance model is well accepted as has been proven by many researchers in their study, more focused on user acceptance factor. So I have selected it in our study, in my study. So to determine the success of OIS along with TAM, service quality factor based on SERVCO model are to be assessed as shown on the figure 2. So reference to the TAM, service quality impact on OIS user acceptance can then be studied by linking the service quality with both perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. So as mentioned in my framework, this study uses the SERVCO model in measuring service quality. So from here, I derive these two hypotheses. Service quality dominantly affects the PU of OIS, and service quality dominantly affect the PEOU of OIS. So next, based on the TAM model, so perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use are both influencing factors affecting user acceptance of a particular technology. So therefore, the following hypotheses are derived. So as you can see here, the perceived usefulness of OIS influences OIS acceptance, and perceived ease of use of OIS affects OIS acceptance. So on research methodology, so this study focuses on descriptive analysis and aim to assess TAM and service quality influencing the adoption of OIS. So this study will be conducted on radiation therapy professionals employed at oncology department across the region of Southeast Asia. So with reference to previous literature related to this study, questionnaires affecting implementation of OIS will then be collected, focusing on service quality, perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and eventually on the actual use. So data will be collected only to the user with more than 6 months experience of OIS. So number of responders will be calculated based on the Cochrane sample size formula with a 95% confidence interval. So after computation, I get around 30, I need to earn around 300 respondents. Though the selections is according to the number of users from different type of occupations that have been directly associated with OIS. So those are the physician, nurses, radiation therapists, medical physicists, and administrative staff. So the questionnaire set is taken from prior literature. So the questionnaire of this study is formally validated. So 5-point Likert scale will be used to measure the items of these questions. So the service quality questionnaire will be adapted from the Jabrali et al. 2019, and questionnaire on TM assessment on perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness will be adapted from the Gangdon et al. 2012. So next, validity of the instruments used will be verified with the valid scientific text, and followed by a Cronbach alpha internal consistency will be used to test the reliability. So finally, data analysis will then be performed using descriptive statistics and analytical statistics with SPSS software. So on the limitation, this study limits to region of Southeast Asia, so representing only staff within a single department, which is the radiation oncology department, and only on the user of a very medical system. Yeah, I think that's all from me.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
So Dr. Ngu, are you around?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Would you like to provide your review and also your comments?
Yes. Thanks for your presentation, Joe. Here, can you look at your titles? Due to the time constraint here, so I think I only have a few questions here. So look at your title. I think that which one is your dependent variable?
You can review on the model itself.
Yes.
Yeah, this one.
So,
Dependent variable will be service quality, perceived ease of use, and perceived usefulness, affecting the overall OIS acceptance in the department.
So your answer is a dependent variable is your service quality. Is it?
Yes.
So what about your IV independent variable? How many IV?
OIS acceptance.
OIS. Okay. Actually, you apply two model here, right? The first one is
apply one model and adopt the service quality.
You apply based on your model there. Actually, you use a TAM technology as the model, and then the other one is SERVCO model here.
Yes.
So for the technology acceptance model, actually you can use a precise ease of use and the precise usefulness, because these two actually are related to the TAM. Okay.
Yes.
And then service quality is related to the another model is a circular model.
Yep.
Okay, so but if you look at the circular model, actually have 5 elements.
Yes,
5
correct.
elements. So tangibility, reliability, assurance, and so on here. So are you measuring the service quality?
Yep.
Then if you really measure the service quality, then you need to share what are your service quality that you want to measure it. Because I look at your model here, so can you your model, the research model? Because based on your research model, actually I can see your dependent variable is OIS acceptance. OIS acceptance actually should be your dependent variable. But look at your IV, your independent.
Correct.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
your independent variable should be service quality. But this service quality it consists of five construct actually.
Correct.
5 construct. Then by intermediate there you have precise ease of use and precise usefulness. So I think that the model has something wrong actually lah. Actually I know that you use OS system. OS system must be related to the technology acceptance model here. But the way that you present your model, I think that something wrong lah. So maybe you need to discuss with your supervisor lah.
Because I did a research on this already. So there's a related study on the service quality affecting the perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness. So how it actually affects how the user acceptance and how useful the system is. Because service quality, it will include the training, education as well, and the services provided by the engineers. So how it gives the user confidence to use and how to ease the user, how to make the usage easier. So these factors are affecting the perceived ease of use.
So, but if you look at the model, in the middle look like a mediators. The precise ease of use and the precise usefulness can be two mediator. But there's another way. Actually, your title can be antecedent. So it means that antecedent of the OIS. So the antecedent can be your service quality, the 5 service quality contract. Okay. So then yeah, because it will affect your ease of use and the usefulness of the technology. So I think maybe you need to think of the title. So whether
the title means the title of my research.
Yeah, because it can be the mediator or be intermediate. Another way is antecedent of the mean that OIS information system. So because it have an outcome, if you use this OIS system have some outcome, what is your outcome here? So
the outcome is the OIS acceptance.
That's why you need to further study lah. Okay. So because I look at the model, it can be 2 types of topics.
No, it's actually a one single where service quality affecting the users, the usage of the OIS, and at the end of the day, will be on the OIS acceptance. This is the concept.
So then you think of the SQ. So I think you need to share the 5 elements of your service quality.
Yep.
Okay. After that, can we?
And in fact, I already have the questionnaires ready as I shown in my research methodology.
Can I look at the your research methodology? You mentioned that you want to study the descriptive analysis one part. Is it the sample size 300?
Yep.
So how do you get the sample size 300?
Because
sorry? How do you get the just now you mentioned that you calculated the sample size actually is 300. So how do you get this 300?
I made an estimation based on the customer size that I have.
So normally, actually, the target sample size, actually, you need to cite the past order. The past order of the past
based on the
researchers.
population, the number of users that I have. Because there's no past order related to OIS system. Sorry to say that.
Oh, so normally the you can use the G power to check your sample size actually also. So this is also one way. So and then there are other way to what is your sample size method lah. So there are many methods. So one of it is
I understand that, yes.
one of it is actually G power here. So and then the can we look at the actually your current study is look at the hypothesis. It's not only look at the descriptive analysis. Because descriptive analysis will be your mean that talking about your respondent descriptive analysis and then your ID and TV. So your actually you look at the hypothesis whether are supported or not supported. So you have four hypotheses. So you want to study the relationship between the ID
The correlationship.
yeah. So supported or not supported. So these are your four hypotheses here. Okay. So I think that can we look at the other slide?
Other slide means?
The last few slides.
Patients?
So what is your contributions? Can you tell
Sorry?
me that what is your contribution of your current research here?
Contribution?
Yeah.
I think it's
To
in
the
my
industry.
significance of study. Yeah.
So your significance of study, so your theoretical contribution actually will be talking about TAM and your so-called model here. So what is your practical contribution?
As I mentioned here, the model incorporates external variables influencing OIS acceptance that will help the administrator and vendors to understand and find solution to enhance the system implementation in the clinic.
So I think that your background study, I look at your background study just now, you don't have some of the statistic figure. So you need to have some statistic figure. So how many mean that the usage of the OS in overseas context, also in Malaysia context?
What you mean by usage statistics?
Mean that statistic figure mean that the usage of the system, oncology information system. So what
it's
is
actually varies between different countries and different departments, depends on the utilization. There's no actual number, to be honest with you.
Actually, you look at the start of the mean that you try to search the Google or research mean that research scholar to search any statistic figure in overseas context, and then after that you talk about Malaysia context here.
No,
so
I'm looking at the Southeast Asia region. So basically, obviously, the OIS utilization, the utilization is there, but the full adoption rate is low. So how low or how high, there's no actual figure available.
Yes,
because it's just like the how you use your handphone and how the US people are using a handphone. Do we have the actual figure on the utilization? So it's the same concept.
So that means that you have you want to study the factor affecting the OS system usage. Besides that, you also want to study high and low level of the usage of the mean that whether in Malaysia whether many companies are using the OS system. So whether the usage is high and low. So this is another.
Yes, is used for all oncology information oncology department. Definitely yes, but how far they go with the system, this is the question that I look to find, which I would like to relate to service quality, how it affects the adoption and the OS acceptance among the clinic users, the department users.
Okay, so you give a good justification. So I don't have any question to ask. So Total Connect. So you have any question that you want to ask? So I pass it to Total Connect.
Yeah, we are running short of time. I just have a quick thought maybe to leave you with, Joe. If let's say your main focus is on serve qual, and how does it affect OIS acceptance, right? As per your significance of research, right? Why would you want to complicate it with adding TAM into your framework? Why don't you just use serve qual? And how does it affect OIS acceptance?
Because I'm not only want to look at the service quality, but I also would like to look at both the perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness of the OIS itself. From the vendor's perspective, we need to look at the overall of the product.
Yeah, because my worry is that there's a lot of variables in this case. A lot of variables means that it'll be very long. Because you
Understood.
need to measure each element of surf quality if you really want to use surf quality. So now you're having like 8 different sections or 9 different sections in your survey, which may be a bit overkill for an MBA. Okay.
Yeah, but in fact, based on other studies that actually applied 3 to 4 variables to the TM models. So not right now I'm only applying one, so I think it's still okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
But now, thanks for everyone who has attended the 8 a.m. pull-up, the 8 p.m. Session. Appreciate all of your attendance, your presentations, your reviews, your questions. We're now moving on to the 9 p.m. session. Those of you who have attended the 8 p.m. session, we would appreciate your evaluation forms as per the Google form link that was sent in the calendar invite. The students who are in the 8 p.m. session, you are welcome to stay for the 9 p.m. session if you would like. However, you're not obligated to. Okay, so to kick things off with the 9 p.m. session, we have 3 students here. We currently have, the first will be Jing Chen, followed by Chun Yan. Lastly will be Mei, Hui Mei. Okay, so Jing Chen, are you here?
Yes, Dr. Tanner, I'm here.
Okay, can you maybe share your camera as well as your screen or your slides?
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me share my slides.
Okay, when you're ready, please begin.
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, so good evening, Dr. Kenneth and Dr. Tan, my supervisor, and everyone for attending to my presentation of the research proposal. My name is Chuk Jing Jian. You can address me as Lisa, and the area of my research will be covering on work-life balance for working mothers. I'm interested in this researching about work-life balance of working mothers is in Malaysia because of myself as a working mother with a 3-year-old child, and it play a important component for me to balance up my work and also my families. According to gender-related studies are always engaging. In Malaysia, women is already made up almost half of the population, but they only represent 46% of the national labor force. From the studies that has been done by Talent Corp Malaysia Berhad, Malaysia has made a major progress in the past 6 years in increasing the numbers of women in the workforce and decision-making roles in the corporate sector and also the government sector as well. Please allow me to share further from this research has been done by contacting the working mother's experience, experiencing anxiety and stress symptoms mostly day by day. So the work-life conflict among employee women occur when they fail to manage and organize their life with their families and work properly. So as we all know, currently with the global pandemic COVID-19, the working women, especially mothers, has been struggling to strike a balance at the boundaries that between work and home life, and how to handle the pressure of the workplace alongside our responsibility and leisure time at home. So let me start my presentation by sharing the objective of the research. The main objective for this research will be allowing us to identify and analyze the factors that contribute to the conflict that women, especially mothers, that has been faced while working at the same time. With this research, we were able to understand, analyze, and also elaborate further on this topic. Let me share on the research design that chosen for this topic. From the research design, we will be choosing descriptive research, and we will be collecting the answer to the question by using 4W and 1H. The common descriptive method is through survey. With the technique of the descriptive research that to determine the present situation from the specific population that able to form the questionnaires. And we will be using questionnaires through electronic survey instead of like paper and pencil in this research. So this research to determine and also describe and identifying the various factors that contributes to the struggling at the work-life balance for working mothers. Yeah. So this slide will be sharing on the research questions that has been identified. So the analysis and the interpretation will be done based on the data collected from the below 4 section that will be covering the demographic questions, which is from the participants such as the age group, races, the number of children they have, marriage status, education level, and also working experience, and etc. Okay, from the next section onwards, the participants will be evaluating each situation based on the Likert scale. For example, 1 will be strongly disagree, 2 is disagree, 3 neutral, 4 agree, 5 strongly agree. So you can see from the second section will be the balance of family work environment related questions, like do you have quality time spending with the families, and for example, did your current job need to work overtime or attend a night meeting, because this is some like a trend that the people has been changing from a local role to a global or even a regional roles, that they might need to adjust their working time. Like for example, are you satisfied with your current jobs, and do you have me time? Me time is actually referring to how the working mothers have their own time, like spending on their interests and distressing. So the next section will be the household responsibility questions, like how the household responsibility are shared with spouse, and like a time they spend on the household. On the last section will be focused on the financial needs of the family. For example, are the current pay scale being sufficient for their financial planning? Like in this modern era, financial planning is like covering the methods of meeting our life goal, for example, to buy a bigger house, like saving for our children, or maybe planning for retirement. So with these 3 sectors of data collected, we can perform the hypothesis testing on the variables. And from the variables, we were able to understand the significant unique contribution to this topic. These studies will be adopting quantitative approaches, which primarily gathering the feedback amongst the respondents on the factor of work-life balance, or maybe we call as conflicts. The data were targeted and collected among the working mothers in the same company within the same site. So the same site I'll be referring to is APAC, because APAC will be mostly sharing the same cultures and also practices. Yeah, and the target that we at least will be able to collect 120 written questionnaires from a total of approximately 160 women's employees. These statistics is actually we have a how would I say, we have a leadership conference past 2 months, and there's a sharing that from the current company that I'm working at, and I will be doing this research on, and approximately we have 160 women in the company in APAC. So we believe with the help of from the company human resources department and corporate communications, the research can be carried out and obtain a higher accuracy of data. Yeah. Currently on this society, participants of survey are having the same concern on the handling of the data collected and the biographic information that will be used in the survey. On the ethical consideration, all respondents will be informed that no identifying information will be collected, as the written questionnaires will be reflected as a nominals. Even though there are any, the data will be kept and used confidentially. As shared in the previous slides, the questionnaires will be reviewed by the corporate communication team and HR department to ensure that the questionnaires will not incur any sensitive related information that relates to work, company, religion, political, or any other sensitive questions. There is a saying that not everyone fits the mold, which also means no matter how perfect the proposal or the planning will be, there will be some limitation. So based on the journal that chosen for my reading, we realized that we might have low participants rate due to it will be depends on the willingness of the participants to invest their time to answer like probably 10 to 20 or even 25 questionnaires which cover the 4 sections that has been shared in previous slides. Other than this, we might face unreliability of the information collected is due to sometimes there might be interpretation or misunderstand on the questionnaire that has been set. So the question, I mean, these collectible questionnaires might be affected in the different cultures, sometimes might be races, and even the emotional of the participants when they performing the survey. Yeah. So in this last slide, I wish to share the expected outcome based on the research proposal. The research will be reflecting the challenges and that face and played the different roles in the workplace, regardless of the level of responsibility and the satisfaction gained from the workplace. Okay, and we also will be able to identify the factors that impact the work-life balance within the family, and also the time that need to sacrifice either at base or home. So this is all from me. Thank you very much and appreciate your time and attention.
Thanks, Lisa. Your assigned reviewer is Captain Lu. Captain Lu, are you there?
Yeah. Is it I'm the assigned examiner? Oh, I thought
yes.
Only supervise my student only.
No.
Supervise other people.
No,
okay.
No. You're just here to provide your comments, any questions to
okay.
help.
May I know your research methodology is quantitative, is it?
My research methodology.
Go back to your research question.
It's my question.
Research objective.
Oh, sorry.
Research objective.
Yeah.
So what is your objective? The mean your objective is very it's not clear. No, it said identify and analyze. Whether identify or analyze.
It's actually to identify. I mean, as you can see from my questionnaires, there are 3 sectors. I mean, the objective of my research is to identify what is the factors that actually contribute to the working mothers that are actually linked to
what are the factors that you want to analyze and identify?
The factor is actually
no. Go back to the research question.
Yeah.
You need to set over here, no.
Research
question. To let people know what is your objective. Here, you want to examine, investigate, identify what are the factors. This one is very important. Go back and check with your supervisor. Okay, let's go to research question. What is the research question?
My research,
You have so many questions, but I don't think this is a question because demographic question is more on the responder profile. You want to know about them.
Yes,
but it is not question.
Oh, okay.
So in fact, the research question is the question that you want to find out what's the outcome in your research. What is your objective? To respond to your objective. To solve your problem. It's not to find out what the age group, what are the so-called whether they have quality time or not. This is the objective or not. Okay, this is not your question. Please go back to your supervisor and try to figure out what are the research questions. Okay, in fact, I have one of my students doing the work-life balance also, women work-life balance. In fact, there are a lot of research question you can construct design. Okay, next. Okay, so you talk about quantitative research. So you mentioned that you want to do survey, is it, and send to them?
It's an online survey.
Online survey. Okay, but just now you mentioned that you will ask this question, because when you talk about this proposal, my mind initially thought is a qualitative study, Okay, if there is qualitative study, you need to do interview. It's not to send over to them. Okay, so I think okay, next. Okay, ethical. This one next. Limitation. Next. What is your contribution? What is your significance of the study, or what is the motivation of the study?
The motivation
outcome is it, but how it can contribute to the society or contribute to the in academic.
With this research, right, we were able to know what is the variables, or we can say is factor that impacting women, especially the mothers. So with this, right, we were able to provide like suggestions to the, as a guideline to the working mothers.
So you are studying MBA.
Mm-hmm.
So you must do something that can help the company, managerial contribution to the organization. It's not for social study. Now what you are trying to do is a social study, just to help them. The women only. It's not to try to find out how to able to manage the women so that they have the work-life balance, enhance their commitment and their performance in the company. It's not. The yours is more on social study already. This mean what you mentioned here, and I found out that you need to do a lot of amendment, based on you still quite weak about the methodology. Even your quantitative, your research methodology is not very clear, So I hope that you can go back to your supervisor. Your supervisor can help you to revise it, and make it correct. Okay, I'm not to spend a lot of time. Okay, I think this proposal, at least you know what is the ideal way to do. The most important thing, your topic must correct, and important is your research objective must reflect your topic. And you didn't show your framework or not? Where is your framework?
I didn't have
your framework. Yeah.
No.
Very important. And what is your underpinning theory? Or you never mentioned. That's why your methodology is quite weak. So please go back to your supervisor. I think your supervisor. Who is your supervisor?
My supervisor is Dr. Tan.
Which Tan? So many Tan.
Doris Tan.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, my good friend. Okay. So Doris Tan will help you a lot. Okay. That's all.
Thanks,
you can come to me also. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Lu.
Dr. Lu. Okay, just to add on a little bit before we move on to the next presentation, like what Dr. Lu mentioned earlier, the underpinning theory is very important. You need to, I believe that there should be definitely some work-life balance frameworks or theories that have already been put forward in literature. Please put citations in your slides so that we know where you get your information from. Because of the lack of citations, it looked like everything sprang from your brain. So it's very difficult for us to believe.
Is it
At the bottom, yes, fine. But then normally we would do like a version of an in-text citation. We'll normally put the citation in the slide also. So where you mention it, right?
Oh,
You
okay.
need to actually say that it came from somewhere else. Okay. So that will be very helpful for us. So a good framework will be very helpful as well. Normally, your research objectives will follow your framework. So when you don't have a framework, right, your objectives, right, will be very scattered one, and your questions the same way. The framework will help to guide and put everything together lah. We can discuss this more on Telegram lah. Okay, so
Okay,
that
sure.
we can work together with Dr. Doris, Dr. Tan, in order to make this more sharper in time for your submission.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Dr.
All right.
Kenneth, I want to assess her or assess my student later on in the form.
Okay,
Assess
so
her,
as discussed during the meeting, right? Because we don't want the supervisor all to be biased to their student, so you have been assigned to review.
She was my student also or no? She was my student also.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you have been assigned to review Lisa's presentation, which is this current one lah. So in the form, you just cite her one. You don't have to do for your supervisee. Okay.
Yeah, I don't need to listen also, am I right?
You can listen if you want, since you're already here. All right. Okay, thank you so much, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Perhaps now it is Chunyan's turn. Chunyan, are you here?
Yes, Dr. Kenneth.
Okay.
Can I clarify before I present?
Yeah, before that, Chunyan, you don't drop my face, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
With regards to the citation, I thought that I have done in the reports. That's why I didn't cite anything here.
Okay. No worries. No worries. It's just a point of it's just a suggestion. It's just a point or remark lah. So it's okay. Never mind. You just continue to show your slides. It's a bit late also. Okay. So just yeah, you can just proceed. I can see your face. Can you try sharing your screen?
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
It's not full screen yet. Yeah.
How about?
Okay. That was good.
Okay. A very good evening to Dr. Kenneth, Captain Joshua, all the lecturers and my fellow colleagues. My name is Yen and I'm going to present my research proposal on the topic, what factors influence generation-wise employee retention in semiconductor industry. This is my table of contents of the day. As for introduction chapter, I would cover the research background, problems and significance of research, research questions, and its objective. For chapter 2, literature review, I will explain and analyze on the proposed theoretical framework and the linkage between the 7 variables. And lastly, I will share on the research methodology. First of all, let me introduce you to semiconductor business in Penang. It is the world's largest exporter and the 3rd largest assembler semiconductors. More impressively, in spite of the disruption of COVID-19 pandemic, its total exports continue to rise to 310 billion in year 2020. In the face of its impressive growth, semiconductor manufacturing is now facing serious shortage of workforce and talents. Let's move to Gen Y at workplace. Please refer to the right top. Generation Y, which is known as millennials who were born in 1982 to 2004. They will be the largest group at the workplace by 2025. According to secondary sources, 43% of young workers will leave the current workplace for over the 2 years, and only 28% plan to stay for longer than 5 years. It shows how serious the hurdles for future workforce, considering now the significant moral degradation and absence of loyalties issue among Gen Y. Millennials possess different perceptions, attitudes, commitments, and motivation about their working preference and job satisfaction from other generations. They tend to switch jobs frequently because they embrace change is a key for better opportunities. They are greatly benefited from industrial revolution. Thus, Gen Y values work environment, relationships with managers, and prefer challenging work. Right. Please allow me to share the significance of the research owing to the problem statements. Although many investigations carried out on employee turnover more than 1 century, still the problem of turnover remains unresolved and increasing within Generation Y employees. Semiconductor face major shortage of talented and experienced workers. Turnover caused great losses for both direct and indirect costs. It is an average of 10% as costly as 0.6% wage increase, and it costs about 30,000 ringgit Malaysia for one employee replacement. It also reduces team morale and impact productivity and company's performance. Therefore, the research is significant to manage turnover rate and understand Gen Y's expectation on career. It is important to save excessive turnover costs and reduce mismatch of talents in order to sustain a high-performing workforce, keep constant productivity, and future growth. Next, let me walk you through my research questions. What factors contribute to retention among Generation Y in today's market? How does empowerment, work environment, relationship with managers, and pay offer job satisfaction among Gen Y in semiconductor industry? Will job satisfaction bring employee commitment? And how does commitment influence Gen Y employees' retention in semiconductor industry? These are the 4 objectives of my research. The first one, to determine the significant retention factors among Gen Y's employees in semiconductor industry. To measure and evaluate 4 factors, including empowerment, work environment, relationship with manager, and pay, which will affect job satisfaction. To analyze how job satisfaction increases employee commitment, and to discover how semiconductor business is able to retain Gen Y talent by partaking the organizational commitment, bringing the company to the next level of success. Next, as you can see from the slide, this is a proposed theoretical framework cited from Fryer et al. 2020. The theoretical framework is grounded in the literature of Herzberg motivation hygiene 2-factor theory, Maslow hierarchy, and McGregor X and Y theory. These theories stress on motivating job satisfaction needs and developed by experiences. The expected results were work environment, relationship with managers, pay, and will positively associate with Generation Y employee job satisfaction, which in return influence employee commitment and intention to remain in semiconductor industry. Well, these are the 4 hypotheses where they positively influence job satisfaction of Gen Y in semiconductor industry. Hypothesis 1. Empowerment is about seeking for self-esteem, decision-making autonomy, professional recognition, and trust. Hypothesis 2 is work environment, involve social environmental concerns, and all about organizational justice, fair workplace policy, and work-life balance. Hypothesis 3, good relationship with manager, provide healthy and transparent workplace. Convenient social relationships, coachings and support from manager for growth. Hypothesis 4, Gen Y treats fair pay and a well-balanced reward system important as a sign of recognition and a sense of belonging. Next, hypothesis 5, It shows that satisfied employees are motivated, creative in job attitudes, contributing to employee commitment, which will lead to excellent performance. And in return, strong committed employees offer competitive advantages, giving great productivity and thus more likely to remain with the organization. Last but not least, I summarize 3 parts of methodology. It is a quantitative research. Firstly, for measurement development, please refer to the left box. I would provide consent form declaring privacy protection. Questionnaire would be refined by supervisor and pilot tests would be conducted with 150 employees from a company to ensure the validity and reliability of the research. 5-point Likert scale for survey statements with 3 sections including motivation and job satisfaction factors, intention to remain, and respondent socio-demographic. The population is 575,000 employees who work in semiconductor industry, and the adequate sample size is 304 will be collected from semiconductor companies in Penang. Data cleaning will be done to ensure accuracy. Lastly, descriptive analysis will be able to summarize the respondent's socio-demographic characteristic. Theoretical proposed model will be tested for model fit and estimating the relationship between all the variables. That's all from me. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Yan. Appreciate your presentation. The reviewer for this presentation is Dr. Mutia. Dr. Mutia, are you there?
Hello.
Perhaps you want to keep your share screen on so that we can refer to it if required.
Sorry.
Yeah. Dr. Mutia, floor is yours.
Okay, Yan, I need to ask the important question for me to understand. The first one is your study is replication from the other study. Replication means other study has done, for example, in Turkey or in Indonesia, and you take it and study in Malaysia.
Yes.
That is the first question.
Yes.
Yes, that is replication.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I know what is your study? I mean, the title of your replication study.
What factors influence Generation Y employee retention in semiconductor?
Okay, Yan.
Yes.
Main paper apa sebenarnya? Siapa tulis main paper tu?
The original study.
Original author. The title of original author.
The factors also influence Gen Y in hospitality industry.
Hospitality industry. Contact, I mean, Malaysia,
US.
Singapore, US.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that is the first thing, yeah. I need to check that. Okay. First, I want to look at the research methodology, I think. No, research framework. Literature review, before literature review. This one.
Yeah.
Is this your study or is this theoretical framework you copy from others?
This is from the original framework the authors made.
Okay, because I need to understand. Okay, now you want to study empowerment, work environment, relationship with manager, and pay.
Yes.
All these 4.
Yeah, but actually the job satisfaction is also as mediating variables to the commitment. Then only commitment will give to retention. Because I had done several secondary sources, and some really comment that job satisfaction may not directly influence the retention. And then because the intention to stay actually based on the personality, whether they are loyal or not. That's why by doing this, and then we will get this, and then this will bring to retention.
Okay, so your literature review, it should be basically show the link between one to the other. Yeah, I lost when it comes to literature. I cannot see the link.
Yeah,
Okay.
the main is job satisfaction. These are the main factors that give to job satisfaction. So this is the main one, how to motivate and how to make them satisfied. And then by having this, by owning this, then only they will feel committed to the organization. Then when they commit, then there is more likely they will remain.
Okay, in other words, I can say that this empowerment, okay, empowerment is antecedent, job satisfaction is independent, employee commitment is mediating, and intention to remain is dependent.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll check with your supervisor in that case. Okay, now I want to go to research methodology.
This one.
Yeah, okay. When I look at the population is huge. Okay, so your study, are you targeting the whole level, meaning supervisory level, management level, or top level?
Yeah, whoever work at the semicon industry. At first, I thought I want to separate between the skilled and non-skilled. But after all, I think after I go through all this literature review, I find it is good. Also, I can determine why Gen Y want to hop. Because like for example, if let's say engineer, because now I'm not comparing the pay. Like individually, if engineer, if you ask, he's getting his pay and he's working in his working environment. So everything in his contact. Then compared to like for example another finance, the finance is getting her pay and working in her environment. So they are when doing the research, they just think of their pay and their working environment. So I think is also acceptable to my understanding.
For me, it's quite huge. You have 3 months to complete. 3 months, I think, Dr. Kenneth?
Yeah.
To complete your dissertation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to narrow down it. If we're talking about PhD or the BA, will definitely they have the same thing. You should focus. Okay, you buat master sayang, master. So it's time. Okay, your
Doctor, do you
time.
need to separate the skilled and non-skilled workers?
You
one
have
thing
to
you
decide.
one thing you can consider doing is that if let's say you want to focus on certain companies or specific companies, that will help to reduce your population size, which means that your sample size also can be reduced. You don't end up killing yourselves lah in the process.
Yes, true. Because in Malaysia to get 10% from the population pun sangat sakit.
That's why because this number I get from the Malaysia Semiconductor Industry Association, and then I use the
For
calculator.
Penang, is it? For Penang or for?
The whole Malaysia, but Penang is sufficient because Penang is the main export, and then everything they focus on here. So when I use the calculator, I get 384 sample size.
No, that one is according to according to the formula. That's correct. But your population size, right? Your population size don't scare us lah. You need to give us the Penang number. So there might be a way to do it from Department of Statistics. If you go to the time series site, they have a breakdown. Otherwise, you need to double check law. If let's say there is a Penang Institute or somewhat like a local regional type of association, they might have the numbers for that.
Or you can just focus company in Penang.
Yeah, specific companies.
Yeah. If there is absence of the data, you can focus company in Penang. Okay.
Company regardless the
semiconductor. How many semiconductor in Penang?
Yeah. So you pick certain semiconductor, and then after that you get the annual report. You find out the total number of employees. That will help.
That will help the population. For me, when I look at the population, I was so wow, workforce is huge. Okay, are you targeting the whole site? Okay, so that is.
But I think, doctor, I'm able to get 384 sample size because I'm working in this have been 10 years plus. So I have the network, social networking. So I think I can get it. Just that maybe you say the may not be accurate because too big or what. I will work out on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me, I was particular about literature. I'm not so much on research methodology, more about the literature because I don't see a link between your variables. That is the first thing. I need to stress here because I am qualitative, pure qualitative person. Okay, I try to understand quantitative view. So by right, I should understand directly what that is my expectation on the quantitative side. Okay, so but I can't. So might be you have to stand up that particular part. Literature review for me.
Okay.
For you, I list out all these theory. They are basically talking about the truth because all these theory they say that the basic needs once fulfilled or satisfied, then maybe people feel demotivated or they won't go far. That's why they need work environment, all this networking, and then the relationship, good relationship. This is what is happening in this time, this era. Not only
for me, I will look at more on how do you use this theory to justify your work. Your framework, macam mana you use theory tu nak explain your framework?
Questionnaire.
I know, sayang. Okay, discuss with your supervisor. Discuss with your supervisor.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We will.
That's all for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Mutia. Thanks, Yan. We will proceed to the last presentation.
Can I give a comment to her or not?
Can.
So you no need must have a mediator, no? Although you have between that you have one variable. In fact, you can do straight or is a multi variable. I mean a multi regression test or no. I no need to have a mediator. Not mean that you do this type of framework or no. This type of framework you need to have mediator. Never mind. Later on we discuss about it. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Captain.
Okay, last presentation of the class. May, definitely not least. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hold on, let me share the file first, the screen.
Can you try turning on your camera in the process?
Oh, sure. Should be this one. All right.
Okay. Are you ready to begin?
Can you see the full screen or just like?
Yes, it's full.
This is the full screen.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's start first. So, good evening, everyone. And my name is Hui Mei. And today I would like to present of the research proposal with the title of factors contributing to employee turnover of lawyer in legal industry. So first of all, I will discuss on the background of study. As we all know, legal professions play a vital role in society, and law is to protect the society, and the law could not be assisted and properly be functions without a qualified lawyers. In spite of that, the national young lawyer survey done in 2012 found that around 43% of new lawyers had entertained thought of quitting the professions in their first 3 years. It has been recognized as a general problem in the legal industry. First, if too many lawyers quit the professions, then it could result in shortage of the legal expertise and be a potential threat to its quality. Hence, there is a need to understand what really contributes lawyer intention to quit the legal professions so that law firm can develop their own retention strategies to encourage employee to remain in the law firms. So the next one is also the background of the study. This study is actually aimed to determine whether the job satisfactions had greater impact on turnover of the employee, which refer to the ability of the job to fulfill the desires, the expectations, the needs, or demands of an employee. The job satisfactions in these studies has categorized into 3 determinants, as you can see from the table here. So namely the perceptions of the professions, working conditions, and the working environments. This is because none of the previous study has focused on these three categories for legal professions in Malaysia. And next is the literature review. Next is the literature review. So first, the relationship between the perceptions of legal professions and turnover intentions. Due to the public stereotype of the professions, students usually have an unrealistic and mistaken perceptions about the professions, such as their status and the prestige. Therefore, the mismatch between this image and the value they convey in their actual career life might cause the employee turnover. However, there is no study has been identified that examines and explore the influence of these perceptions on the actual choice to leave the legal professions. Therefore, the hypothesis one is set up here. The high expectations of legal professions is negatively related to job satisfactions. Secondly, the relationship between the working conditions and turnover intentions. Many studies have shown that stress and the workload and inequality in pay have a significant negative impact on job satisfactions. One study found that professions have a relatively high stress tolerance. However, several studies in contrastly indicated that stress work imbalance increased the actual turnover. However, that were generally focused on their gender difference and the personal characteristic difference towards the turnover intentions. Hence, there is a need to explore how perceived work conditions influence the actual turnover in Malaysia lawyer context. So the next one is the relationship between the hypothesis. So hypothesis 2 is working conditions is positively related to job satisfactions. Next one, the relationship between the working environments and turnover intentions. So for the working environments and turnover intentions is that how the work is designed and organized is another determinant of the job satisfactions. Many studies have shown that employees will not tolerate supervisor injustice treatment compared to work assignments. However, it was focused on the gender by finding that females were intolerant with the unfair policies compared to mere employee. Research has also shown that strong social bond between the employees and firms can reduce the turnover rate. If the relationship are bad between the firms and the employee, then their work may become uncomfortable, which in the long run may cause the employee to quit the jobs. And although the literature in general suggests that a good work environment increase job satisfactions and reduce the intentions to leave by the lawyers, there is a need to explore whether the same associations applies to the actual intention to live in the Malaysia lawyer context. So hypothesis 3, working environments is positively related to job satisfactions. Lastly, the job satisfactions and turnover intentions. Even though prior research found that job satisfactions was negatively related to employee turnover intentions and job satisfaction score can explain employees' turnover intentions. And understanding their associations could also provide understanding the association between the actual career change and factors shown to affect turnover intentions in legal industry could provide us a valuable insight. And the next one is the significance of the study. So the significance of the study in this is to provide us novel findings in the legal industry by testing our lawyers' turnover intention mode. So the factors and the factors and the reasons of employee turnover will also help the law firm to prevent the drain of knowledgeable and experienced lawyer, and also to save the operating costs at the end. So lastly, the finding of this study could let the employers understand the employee turnover and therefore afford employers the opportunity to focus attentions on evolving strategies that will bring about job satisfactions in the lawyers and the research objective. So firstly, the research objective of this study is to study the authentic reasons for employee turnovers in the legal professions in Malaysia. Most importantly, it is to determine the relationship between the job satisfactions in terms of their perceptions of professions, working conditions, the working environment, and employee turnover intentions. So, theoretical framework here is focused on the Herbert's two factors theory, which has explained about the intrinsic factors, the extrinsic factor. The intrinsic factor here were believed to increase the job satisfaction, such as the achievement, the recognition of the employee. It is also known as the motivating factors, whereas the extrinsic factor cause job dissatisfactions, such as the poor working conditions and the poor working environment. It is also known as the hygiene factors. In short, this theory is to explain how the factors of the job satisfactions and the factors of job dissatisfactions influence the whole employee turnover intentions. According to Herbert, if the factors related to job satisfactions go up, then their turnover intention should also go down. And whereas if the factors of job satisfactions, dissatisfactions go up, turnover intention should go up as well. Hence, this theory is relevant to our study here. So next one is the research methodology. The primary data from this study will be collected from the descriptive survey questions as survey, which consisting open-ended questions and also the closed-ended questions. Random sampling will be used in the study to avoid the unnecessary bias, and the survey targets to distribute to around 200 lawyers in Malaysia. Further, some secondary data will also be collected from the journals, the textbook, and the internet. SPSS will be used to analyze the collected survey data in this study. So for the ethical consideration in this study is mainly concerned about the privacy and confidentiality of the respondent of the survey. Anonymous of every respondent will be used in this study without mentioning about their names, law firms, employers in the final report. Importantly, the survey is also voluntary based and will not be forcing anyone to answer this survey. So lastly is the limitations of this study. So the limitations in this study is that the finding might be biased, as the lawyer may not have much leisure time to finish the whole questions as survey. And secondly, the perceptions of employees toward working conditions, working environments may be influenced by different cultures such as their race and religions. Lastly, in years 2021, there is about 20,000 practicing lawyers in Malaysia. So the survey result obtained from 200 lawyers may not represent the whole legal professions in Malaysia. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mei. Dr. Tan, are you there?
Yes.
Dr. Tan, thank you so much for staying up for this. I know it's very late, but appreciate your review and your comments on this presentation.
Okay, Mei, can you turn your slide to the front from the starting?
From the starting, is it? So this is the first one.
Yeah, may I have a look at your problem statement? Do you have problem statement?
I don't have any problem statement in my.
So that's why I thought I didn't see it. So that's why I asked you, do you have a problem statement? Usually when we carry out a research definitely we identify there is a problem in this topic, right? You need to justify why do you study this topic. Must be there is a problem in this, either in this industry or the DV, which is the turnover, which is very significant. We create a problem statement, and usually we will link the DV to the IV, right? So the IV will also be part of your problem statement. So that's why you miss a very big portion of it. Problem statement actually attract the reader to continue reading your research. You
Because,
need to tell.
sorry to interrupt, because at first I thought that problem statement is like something I have mentioned in my background of the study. Like I have mentioned that if let's say we didn't solve this problem, then the shortage of the legal expertise may be occur in the future time. I thought this is what the research problem.
No, this is actually not. Right, so I expect you to improve, to have a problem statement, and your problem statement must talk about your DV problem as well as your IV. That is the reason why you study the IV that you mentioned. Right, I think you have 3 or 4 IV. May I have a look? I think 3 IV and 1 moderator.
I have 3 IV and 1 DV. Yes, moderate.
So all those IV, moderator, and DV will be the so-called the variable you are going to study, and it is in your problem statement. Right. And then another question I want to ask you: why do you choose legal profession environment? Why is it significant that make you choose this?
Because can I say something personally? Because I'm a lawyer, and I think this is the area that I'm quite familiar with and easy for me to reach them. That's why I choose this topic.
Okay, so if you yourself is a lawyer, how do you ensure that when you carry out the research, you did not introduce your personal bias in the research? Because you yourself is inside, right? You are part of them, right? You might not carry out the research objectively because you are a lawyer in the industry. So there is high possibility that you will introduce your personal bias when carry out the research. So your result might not be useful because there is a bias. So in that case, how do you ensure?
In that case, I think first I won't answer my own survey questions. And then secondly, I think because for me, I'm still remain in the same firm until now. So I think I never have the thought to quit the legal professions. Is that sufficient for you to answer your questions?
Yeah, because for research, we want an unbiased result that makes the result to be useful. If your result is a bias, it means the researcher unbiased, then what kind of contribution or that the result will provide for, then it makes like no meaning anymore, right? So that's when you talk about that, when I ask this question, actually I suspect you are a lawyer also already. Actually, initially. So I guess so that might be a possible bias that you might introduce. And another question, what is your sampling frame?
My samples, you mean the
sampling frame? How do you decide that you are going to get from you, because you say there are 20,000 lawyers in Malaysia, right? So what is your sampling frame?
I will just distribute through the emails, which is actually it will be conducted in like the online Google form method. So the same will be distributed through emails sent to their office maybe.
So do you have a sampling frame? For example, maybe you can get your sample from Legal Society in Malaysia?
Yes, of course I can, because if let's say you want to get their email address, actually there is one website to collect their email address.
Should be.
Yes.
So, and you say you use random sampling. Usually, we will for quantitative research, we will use systematic sampling method, not a convenient sampling method. This is not qualitative research method. So that's why you must have your sampling frame. Then you use systematic sampling method to collect your data. Usually this is what we do. Unless you decide to conduct a qualitative research, then there will be different.
All right.
Okay, so and then I also expect to see eventually your contribution. Do you think you must be able to mention why you need to conduct this research in legal environment, and then is it really the turnover a very big issue in legal environment? So make sure when you are in the final presentation, you cannot say it because I'm in this industry. This is actually very biased already. Right. So you must think of how do you convince the panel that this turnover problem, you must prove from statistics that turnover problem is really a big problem in the legal profession. That make you to conduct research in this environment. If not, we usually don't conduct in a certain environment if there is no problem at all. So no problem at all, we don't have to conduct research anymore. Right, so that's what I think. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tan.
That's all from my side.
On my side, I don't have a lot to add. I believe Dr. Tan has actually covered most of it. What I would say is that in order to cover your personal bias, right, I think that your interpretation will actually need to require you need to actually rely on literature or rely on other methods in order to back up your interpretation of your results or your analysis later on. Meaning to say you cannot this is consistent because of your own personal opinion. You need to actually have further backing in order to show that you're not just relying on your own personal opinion. That's what I would say lah. Okay. The other thing that I also wanted to mention also was about you probably want to actually expand a little bit on how significant this is, as opposed to this being like a sort of like a personal quest of yours because you are so emotionally invested. So it has to be something like this is supposed to provide maybe recommendations or suggestions to the bar so that they can find ways in order to to maybe reduce employee turnover, or maybe it will also help provide recommendations to the law society so that different firm owners can actually introduce new methods in order to reduce employee turnover lah. I think that would be helpful to different firms as well as practices across Malaysia. You might want to focus your study into specific firms in a specific geographical region. I don't know whether you're able to collect the numbers you require if you go full Malaysia. Believe me, I've done telemarketing before. If you just send unsolicited email into an office account, right? Especially when you're asking for surveys, you're not going to get the reply that you're looking for lah. Okay, so you need to actually, you need to be a bit more realistic on that lah, in that sense. Okay, so think about that. And then those are the few things that I have to say. If there's anything else that I think of, I'll text you, and then we can have a separate discussion.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes our gauntlet of presentations. Thank you everyone for sticking with us all the way until the very end. Really appreciate all of you for your participation, your presentations, your review, your comments. The recording will be made available to you so that the students can review the comments and also utilize it in their upcoming proposals. You will most likely be doing your projects in January semester, so you will have the remainder of the September semester to really think about it, to really enhance it before you actually go out and execute. Okay, so thank you everyone. I know it's late, so I don't want to keep everyone for too long. Really appreciate it. And then for the lecturers, please remember to submit your evaluations via Google Forms through the link that was shared in your calendar. Okay, thank you everyone. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.